There is something absolutely magical about the ballet. At most performances, all eyes are directed directly to that highly skilled and beautiful prima ballerina. In today's sewing tutorial, we'll walk through the construction steps of how to create that timeless costume. Let's go ahead and get started. The Prima Ballerina pattern is comprised of 4 basic elements. We have a multi-layer tulle skirt, a petal peplum that fits underneath, a fitted bustier, as well as some sleeve puffs. Today I'll be constructing that tulle skirt out of 2 different layers of tulle. One is plain and one is sparkly, and that's the exterior layer. The fabric that I'm going to be using for the base of the garment is a nice brocade satin fabric, and the lining is just a simple polyester. The pattern pieces that are included in the project, in addition to the tulle skirt, is the front of the bodice, mid-front, and the side front, the back of the bodice, mid-back, and side back, as well as the petal waistband, and also the sleeve puffs. This is actually the pattern piece for the petals, and you actually cut 10 of those along with the lining. As you can see on our Nima doll, this is a layered outfit. I would recommend starting with the tulle skirt, then the petal skirt, then the bustier, to get the appropriate fit for the eyelets up the back of the bustier. The multi-layered tulle skirt is comprised of 4 different layers, 2 sparkly and 1 plain, and it's all attached to a 1/2-inch elastic waistband. We'll stack the 2 lower tulle layers together and we'll run a gathering stitch along the waist edge. We'll do the same thing with the tulle that's going to appear on the front of it, and then we'll attach it to the waistband. We'll sew 1 layer of tulle, the one without the sparkles, close to the edge of the waistband, and we'll sew the tulle with the sparkles on it 1/4 of an inch above the other. This will give us an opportunity to use the tulle skirt with the bustier and not the petal skirt, and not have the waistband showing. We've cut our 1/2-inch elastic into a 5-inch strip, and this is appropriate for Ellowyne's waist. We'll take our first or lower level of tulle, we'll pull the gathering stitches to fit that 5-inch elastic, and then we'll zigzag the tulle in place. With our first layer of tulle attached, we'll grab our sparkly tulle, and you may have noticed on the template that this is a 1/4 of an inch longer than the under layer. And the reason is we're going to sew it 1/4 of an inch above the previous tulle layer. We'll pull the tulle layer to match the waistband as we did with that first layer, get it sewn in place, and then we'll sew the center back seam. When you do sew the center back seam, you want to angle in from that waist seam up towards the top of the waist. That will help to pull the skirt up into the bustier so that you can wear it without the petal peplum. So here's a quick fit of that layered tulle skirt to our doll. And as you can see, it comes pretty high on the waist. And I think that's what's going to help us hide the waistband underneath that bustier. So the next layer in our construction is to do the petal peplum. In order to do that, we'll take our petal pieces, we'll place it right sides together with the lining. We'll sew around the exterior or rounded portion of each petal, and we'll leave that top edge unsewn. You'll repeat that with the other 9 petals. With all of our petals sewn, we're going to clip and trim in towards the seam allowance, turn them all right side out, and give them a press. Once you have all 10 petals turned and pressed, you're going to actually make a little tuck in the center of each petal. This is going to be about 1/4 of an inch in. You can go ahead and put a pin in each one, and then you're going to baste those tucks in place. We'll grab the waistband for the petal peplum. We'll turn one of the long edges up 1/4 of an inch and give it a press. With that fold in place, we'll turn it right side up and we'll place the petals right side down to the waistband, starting 1/4 of an inch from both sides. We'll stack the 10 petals evenly all the way across the waistband, pin it in place, and then sew it in place. We'll press the seam allowance up, and then we'll fold that folded edge back over the seam and sew across each end. That will leave that seam lining up directly with the petal on both the right and left back opening. You'll press the waistband, grab a needle and thread, and hand finish that folded edge of the waistband to the seam. We've added our second element over that initial multi-layer tulle skirt. You can see that it crosses over easily at the back, and our petals seem to be really, really good. So from here, we can add a hook and eye to the back of the petal skirt and move on to construction of the bodice. Once you have the clips in towards the curved edges of the bodice, you're going to take the front bodice and sew it together with the mid bodice with right sides together, and then repeat that same thing with the side front sections. With the front of the bodice prepared, we'll take this over to the ironing board and press the seams open. With our front bodice constructed, we'll do the same steps for the back section. We'll take the mid back section, sew it to the back section, the side back section to the mid back section, and then press those seams open. With the back seams pressed open, we'll place the back sections to the front section with right sides together and sew the side seams. With our bodice constructed, we'll press those side seams open and prepare the lining. The bodice lining is constructed utilizing the exact same steps we did to create the exterior portion of the garment. At this stage, we're going to place the lining to the bodice, right sides together, and sew across that top bust edge as well as along the waist edge. You want to carefully check both sides, and if everything looks to be pretty good, you're going to clip and trim in towards that seam allowance, turn the bodice right side out, and give it a press. Once we reach this stage in the construction of the bodice, we just have a few more steps and we're going to be finished. We have to apply the eyelets to the right and left back opening. So at this point, you're going to grab that double-sided hem tape, as well as some fray check, your chosen eyelets, some washers, and a crocodile or another setting tool for the eyelets. Before setting the eyelets, we're going to turn both the left and right back openings under 1/4 of an inch and give them a press. Test the fit to the doll over the other two layers, which include that layered tulle skirt, as well as the petal peplum. Once you have the left and right back openings tucked under 1/4 of an inch and pressed, you're going to do a quick fit to the doll over the layered tulle skirt as well as the petal peplum. You want to make sure that you're getting the right closure at the back so that when you actually install your eyelets, you're satisfied with the final look. From this quick fit, I think the eyelet placement is going to be fine. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the bodice off of the doll. I'm going to grab my double-sided tape, which looks just like this. I'm going to cut 2 small strips that fit into both the left and right back openings. I'm going to cut the tape in half, and then I'm going to attach it by ironing it in place.
This particular double-sided hem tape is adhesive on one side, and then it has a strip that you can pull off. I find this to be the most easy to work with, so I would recommend this if you have it. Adding the adhesive gives you the advantage of holding those two back places together, adding a little bit of stability as you set the eyelets. I'll do the other side and we'll get our crocodile to punch our holes. With the second side sealed, we're going to mark the placement for the eyelets. I'm going to do this just by sight. So I'm going to do one close to the edge, but be aware of that seam allowance because it is a little bit thicker near the seam allowance. I'm going to put one at the top, one at the center, and then two in between those two. With my eyelet spacing marked, I'm going to grab my crocodile. I'm going to be using the 1/8 inch side because that's the eyelets that I'm going to be setting. And then I'm going to strictly just punch the holes right where I see my heat erasable marker through the viewfinder on the crocodile. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to grab that fray check. I'm going to add a little fray check around each hole on both sides of the bustier, and I'm going to let it dry. You do want to make sure that you're careful with the fray check as it can mark your fabrics, so you may want to do a fabric test before doing this step. A small pair of scissors will help you to trim off anything that was left when you punched the hole. Once the fray check dries around each hole, you'll just take your eyelet with the right side going to the outside of the garment, press it through the hole until you see the post on the opposite side. Place an eyelet washer over that post, grab your crocodile, and seal it. You'll repeat that with the other 9 holes, and then we'll grab our satin ribbon to lace it up. With our bustier complete, our next and final step is to create the puffs for the arm. This is a super easy finish, and once we have that done, we'll get our final photographs. You'll take one strip of that long sleeve puff, fold it in half lengthwise, and sew close to the edge to create a narrow casing for the elastic. With the casing sewn in place, you'll grab that narrow elastic and something to run it through the casing with. In this case, I'm going to use a bobby pin to run my elastic through the casing. When you get to the other side, you simply tie the elastic around your doll's arms, pull the casing to fit, and tie a secure knot. With our puffs in place, we'll get those final photographs.
As you can see from the final photographs, Ellowyne truly is a beautiful prima ballerina. This pattern was created so that Ellowyne would have the opportunity to wear this design with the fitted bustier and layered tulle skirt alone, or with the addition of the petal peplum. I had a great time creating this costume for Ellowyne. I loved the beautiful fabrics as well as the sparkly tulle. At the request of a few customers, I did put together a couple of Prima Ballerina fabric packs that also includes the notions that you need to create this look. The fabric packs will be available for a limited time on our website, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I hope you guys enjoy the new pattern for Ellowyne. If you'd like to share your creations with the doll community, please feel free to post your photographs on the Designs by Jude Showcase and Share page on Facebook. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.